Bart, how do I know if I'm a person that right now I am a recreational home brewer? How do I know when it's time, if I'm really good at it and really passionate about it? What's that dividing line between me being really good at it at home and being something that I should be looking at being more of a guy like you?
I would imagine that it is it's a sense of volume. So at home, you probably can get, probably brewing about 5 gallons. In the brewery, you're brewing 1,200 gallons. So if you want to have 70,000 pints at your available consumption at any point, that's when you make the decision.
Nicely put. Bart, tell us, I don't think I've been to a place like this. It just seems to go on and on, straight ahead, behind me, to my left. How long have you been here, and how did this whole thing come to be?
So we opened October 15th, 2016. It was a 2-year project from consideration to opening. It was my brother's suggestion to open a brewery. The real sort of inspiring scenario that sparked the whole thing is my father passed, and he didn't get a chance to retire. And so we asked ourselves, what would we do if it was now that we had to do it? And that was cool. We're opening a brewery.
How many different kinds of beer do you make?
We have 11 beers on tap. We've probably got 15 beers in-house. They're constantly rotating, so we keep 4 core, and each month we put out a different beer. So we probably have done from the beginning, we probably have done about 25 beers or so.
Is there a portion of your time that you spend, or whoever it is here that does it, spends experimenting with new stuff, like trying to, let's see if something like this works, trying tasting that, seeing if that's worth continuing?
Yeah, so we have a pilot system. It's a 1-barrel system. So our large system is a 20-barrel system, just to kind of give you an idea. That's 30 gallons to the barrel. So we have a pilot system that we'll mess around with, because if it screws up, then we drink it, and we can drink it within 2 weeks or so. We also do some adjunct work. So we'll create a mother beer, and then we'll infuse it with something like our Oopsbrock. Our Rotsbrock is our Oopsbrock that's infused with hibiscus, so we'll do a small batch. We'll mess around with different additions for smaller beers, and that's where we can kind of get really creative.
Nice. What's the difference between a lager and an ale?
It's the type of yeast and also the temperature that you ferment with. So one's a bottom fermenting yeast and one's a top fermenting yeast. One you ferment at 68 degrees and one you'll ferment at 50 degrees or 40 degrees. Lagers tend to take longer to brew, so you can turn an ale around in 12 days or 14 days. Lager normally takes 24, can take 30 days in the fermentation tank. So,
what's one of the things that we've noticed while we've been here in Virginia is the number of, there's a ton of craft breweries, a ton of vineyards, wineries, that sort of thing. Is it more of is the passion and the prevalence of that, is it because of the agricultural side and that the ingredients are available, or are people in this area just really passionate about it, or is it somewhere in between?
I'd say that it's somewhere in between, but I think the biggest thing that spurred brewery growth, and by the way, we've been called Napa Valley of the East. Anyway, what spurred it was the tourism side of it. Virginia's tourism decided that if they helped change some scenarios, which was help promote laws and stuff, changing of laws, and there was a law that changed that allowed for breweries to have a retail area in an industrial space without rezoning, and they could sell their beer. So you went from a place where you had to be a restaurant to sell a certain amount of food per the amount of alcohol, to a place that you could actually do a brewery and sell your beer without having food. That's when it started growing significantly.
Now, Bart, you know us Canadians, we love our beer, right? And we certainly have better beer than you guys. However, all right, well then maybe it's just stronger. It's stronger and better, but listen.
Say touche and
All right. But for our Canadian visitors who plan to come here, and I'm sure they'll drop by, what beer would you recommend that they try out?
What's the Canadian palate? You guys are in craft beer right now, right? So hops is happening, lagers are happening.
What's your favorite here? Yeah.
My favorite is the Sixth Lord, which is an IPA that's done at 5.3% alcohol by volume. It's an easy drinking. It's a New England inspired beer, so it doesn't have the bitterness that a West Coast IPA has. So you can sit down and have a few of them, and your palate is still intact. So I would say Sixth Lord.